A major Republican stand-up to Trump. Todd Blanche's nomination for Attorney General is indeed in deep trouble tonight. A top Republican threatening to sink Trump's pick for the job. Now, the Senate Judiciary Committee was scheduled to vote. It was a key vote in just a few hours. But the way things were going, this was going to go through. Republicans were going to get on board. It was going to happen. But that is not what has happened. And it is no longer clear tonight if that vote will happen. We'll see. I mean, at this hour, there's a flurry of activity, meetings behind closed doors between Republicans. Todd Blanche just left the Capitol. He refused to answer questions. So there's a lot of drama. He even went to the White House this afternoon. So here's what it comes down to. Republican Senator John Cornyn wants it in writing that Trump's $1.8 billion basically slush fund for his political allies is dead for good, is over, is not going to happen, not get resurrected. As of now, it does not appear Cornyn is getting the assurance he needs.
You haven't heard from the DOJ at all? They haven't responded to you after you sent that back to them?
As I told you earlier, it was not responsive to my concerns. I mean, we've heard from them. It's just that they refused to commit to writing what he testified to under oath. And it's not a big ask.
Why don't you think Todd Blanche has met your demands at around the 11th hour before this vote?
Well, I assume he's getting some pushback from the president's lawyers.
Here's the thing. We know that this slush fund matters a lot to Trump, and that may be what this is all about. But Cornyn is correct that it is not a big ask if you actually believe what people tell you under oath, and if you believe that people are people of honor, and when they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. I mean, Blanche, in his confirmation hearing, testified that the fund was dead. But then he admitted it could be brought back by Trump's lawyers.
Just to be clear, the President of the United States, who is a plaintiff in this lawsuit, has not agreed in writing to delete the weaponization fund, and there's no guarantee that he or one of the other plaintiffs might raise that issue by way of a lawsuit, and a breach of contract lawsuit in the future.
I suppose they could bring a lawsuit, and then we would litigate it.
So Trump's lawyers could bring back the fund, which Trump calls a great idea. It is a fund that could be used to pay, for example, rioters who attacked the U.S. Capitol and police officers on January 6th. Now, time's of the essence for the Justice Department here, because if this vote in committee does not happen, this could push Blanche's full confirmation vote into the fall, into September, after the August recess, right? So this is a serious delay if it doesn't happen here. The showdown comes 71 days, of course, after Trump refused to back Cornyn in that ugly Texas Senate runoff, instead backing his highly controversial and challenged challenger, Ken Paxton, a decision which brought an end to the senator's more than 20 years in Congress, and one that Trump speculates is the reason Cornyn is putting up such a fight about the fund now.
Maybe John Cornyn's upset with me because I didn't endorse him. I don't know what it is.
Well, whatever it is, Cornyn admits he's now free to vote as he wishes. Doesn't have to try to assuage and appease Trump. He can do what he wants, whether it makes Trump happy or not.
You would acknowledge, though, not having to run for re-election anymore has freed you up to be more independent from the president. Would you acknowledge that?
Have you noticed?
So when the president says that you're doing this as a political vendetta, what do you say to that?
That's a convenient excuse, and it happens to be untrue.
Manu Raju is out front live from Capitol Hill. Manu, we just saw you asking all those questions there, and really fascinating to see what he was willing to say to you. I mean, where does Blanche's nomination stand right now? I understand there's all these kind of last-minute backdoor meetings going on. Is it really in danger?
Yeah, it is, and it's hanging by a thread. And the Senator, John Cornyn, has made his demands really crystal clear for weeks now. He wanted these assurances in writing, wanted to make it clear that the $1.8 billion fund would not go through, and that the president's the efforts to try to get future presidents and the current president not to be subject to IRS tax enforcement, that exemption would be essentially nullified. He wanted that all in writing and said, if you give me those things in writing, I will vote yes. He has not gotten that in writing. He said he has gotten some proposal from the Justice Department, but he said he has sent that back with a bunch of red lines lines in that proposal, and he has not heard back since then or anything that's responsive to his demands, which means this, Aaron, that if he votes no tomorrow in that committee, there's not enough votes to advance Todd Blanche's nomination to the Senate floor, given how narrowly divided that Senate Judiciary Committee is. And if it doesn't advance the Senate floor, it's effectively dead, which is why Chuck Grassley, the Senate Judiciary Committee chairman, has been working behind the scenes with the White House, trying to see if there's any accommodation whatsoever for Cornyn. And Grassley has refused to say if he plans to delay this vote tomorrow. In fact, he just told us just moments ago that he's checking with his staff about what the update is and will decide whether to provide an update. But if he just delays this vote until next week, because the senators are leaving town tomorrow, Aaron, that means if he brought this back up next week, it would almost certainly push back the final confirmation vote until after Labor Day. And at that point, who knows what the political dynamic will be like as we get closer to the election. Will they actually resolve John Cornyn's concerns, which is why there is a ton of pressure right now on Cornyn to align himself with the president. But as you heard from there right there, he told me that he is feeling very independent these days, particularly since he no longer has to run for re-election after losing to that Trump-backed challenger.
John Cornyn. Okay, there were so many times when he would go along with Trump, and now he's saying, have you noticed? Have you noticed that I feel a freedom? Do you think he'll hold firm?
I do. I actually do. First of all, we've learned that people's word cannot be trusted, because the first thing that should be fire alarms for everyone is Todd Blanche said under oath that it was dead, but it's apparently not, because he won't sign the papers. Number two, this is John Cornyn unleashed, okay? John Cornyn believes that the slush fund is wrong, and there's no way in hell Grassley is calling this vote tomorrow if John Cornyn is a no. I've been before this Senate committee. They're not going to call a vote unless John Cornyn is a yes. And by the way, Tom Tillis is not completely a yes set either. But what's more upsetting to me than even talking about the slush fund is, why are any of these senators saying it's okay to approve Todd Blanche simply because of the Epstein files? Like, suddenly that's all okay now, the way that he handled that? This should be concerning to every
Among many
senator.
things, the visit to Ghislaine Maxwell in the prison when she was suddenly moved, and the fact that half the documents still haven't been put out when they said they were going to put them all out. I mean,
exactly.
Ryan, what does it say to you? Again, I guess back to the point of somebody being good for their word, which now we live in a world where it sadly matters much less than it used to. But you go under oath, you say it's dead, then it may not be dead, and now you won't sign the paper. What does it say that he won't sign the paper?
It's astonishing. And the same thing has actually occurred not just in the Senate, but also in the courts. So a federal judge said to Todd Blanche and the Justice Department, give me in writing what you committed to in Congress. They said, no, his word in Congress should stand, which is just unbelievable. Why wouldn't you just put it in writing? The court is asking for that to guarantee that the case is truly over, and then the court can dismiss the case. And that's even putting himself and the Justice Department at risk, because it's a judge who might sanction them for their behavior in the case that created the slush fund in the first place, yet he won't do it. So there's something that's really hanging them up, even as Senator Cornyn said, it should be an easy ask.
It should, because he said under oath that it was dead, right? I mean, I'm just saying, hey, all you got to do is say that you said what you said, right? I mean, Paul, it does come, though, in the form of John Cornyn, who maybe, whatever it was, did I say 41 days ago, you might not have expected him to be the face of this. But let me just play some more of the very defiant messages that Cornyn is unafraid to send the White House today.
Maybe they think I'm just going to give up or, go along, but they're mistaken.
Why do you think they're not getting a message from you?
Maybe they think they can roll me.
Can they roll you?
No.
Do you think we'd be in this situation if Cornyn had won the primary and was running for the Senate seat instead of Ken Paxton in Texas?
I hope we would be, because integrity should still matter. And hooray for John Cornyn, right? Look what it's like to have a senator who's truly independent, who's willing to buck the president, who's willing to buck his own party, and a Republican senator at that. It would be great maybe if all senators could vote like they didn't have to run for re-election. We'd have a totally different situation where people put integrity and honor and our national security ahead of all the other stuff. And this weaponization fund is so deeply unpopular that, to Gretchen's point, I'm surprised more Republicans haven't broken with him on this, and Epstein similarly, because the Republicans are in real trouble here as they continue to align with Trump, as his popularity continues to plummet, especially with independents. I think it's at like 22% right now. But we need people who are willing to stand up and also send a message that you cannot pay people for attacking the government, which is what this weaponization fund is. It's not just about paying folks for what they've done. It's about giving people incentive for what they might do in the election upcoming. It's always about the circuit breaker of our midterm elections that Trump is trying to slow down, stop, meddle with, because he knows that's the check on his power that could be looming.